Hi everyone, Harry here to talk about the exploding, I think, feud between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Disney Company. You would think normal allies, Disney, a huge taxpayer, a huge provider of jobs in Florida, but they are in a blood feud, and Disney today said enough is enough and sued the Florida government and Ron DeSantis. All right, so you've probably been vaguely aware that there's been quite a food fight going on for many months. How did it start? This is really important because it's going to figure deeply in the lawsuit. It started clearly because Disney criticized the education bill that DeSantis had passed, the so-called "Don't Say Gay" bill. We can set to the side for purposes of this discussion what it does, what it doesn't do, whether it's fairly characterized in that way or not. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is Disney, at the behest of its employees, criticized it and started a real blood feud with DeSantis, who said things like, send out fundraising, they've picked the wrong guy to fight, and I'm going to make them pay, etc. And there have indeed been a series of moves against Disney, which had enjoyed a sort of special tax status in Florida and had different kinds of relationships. And of course, it argues we pay $1 billion plus in taxes. We're starting this new thing and we're going to invest $17 billion, which will be 13,000 jobs. And nevertheless, the governor and his hand-appointed board continue to have these reprisals. They tried to dislodge the Disney board and appoint their own state hospitality board. And most recently, there's a deal with the government that they declared null and void, just like that. Now, their argument is going to be, and what makes this a sort of not easy case is, Disney had this preferential treatment. Governments certainly can decide to take it away. Maybe this wasn't good for business of the state, et cetera, et cetera. But all that would normally make sense, except here you have unbelievably clear, pellucidly clear, as I think some lawyers put it, evidence that this is all in reprisal for what? Expression of political opinion, right? They criticized the governor's education bill. They dared to criticize the government's education bill. And that's what brought all this down. And there's going to be, if this goes ahead, and there are many people, businesses around Disney, et cetera, pleading with DeSantis to just stop this feud. But his sort of macho image is deeply, and his anti-woke principles, whatever the heck that means, but they're important to him, are now deeply invested in this. So it's not clear that he can back down. I'm sure, Disney's sensible business company. He is, I'm sure, getting to the point where he wishes he hadn't bought this fight, but now he can't back down from it. And so it stays really interesting, but there'll be a deposition, and they will attempt to say something like, oh, he resented the education thing, but it's really just to change the treatment and do something that governments do all the time. But, down the line, if it doesn't settle, it probably will. But down the line, a jury's got to believe that, it was done for not as reprisal for political speech. And I think the record is really clear against him. So the complaint, filed by a well-known LA lawyer, filed, however, in Tallahassee, says you did two things to us. You, took reprisals against us because we exercise our First Amendment rights. That just can't be. That's a violation of our constitutional rights. And then second, there's a clause in the Constitution called the Contract Clause. It's the bane of many law students' existence. And I won't try to give a mini primer on it, except just to say that Disney here is also saying we had this deal that they've just rendered null and void, and that violated the contracts clause, although that's going to be a harder one, not clear that people have rights under that clause. It hasn't been litigated much, etc. But the basic claim, you're doing all these things that would be legit otherwise, just would be in the range of a state's business decision-making, because we engaged in politically protected speech. And you know what? That won't fly. And you know what? You A, have to stop, and B, have to pay us damages. So, this is a pretty rich lawsuit that, even if it's a stretch, or even if Disney doesn't win, the embarrassment it portends for DeSantis, that deposition, etc., where he's got to cop to, basic kind of cowboy posturing, even when it hurts his state. That's going to be hanging out there now. And, maybe he tries to make it go away, but if so, he's got to have to sue for peace generally with Disney. So we'll see how it works, but Disney's move ups the ante, quadruple today. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.